Recently, I have been beating up on IULs, Index Universal Life Insurance. We've made several episodes and podcasts about that, and cash value life insurance. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link to it up above, but today I'm going to take a break and talk about something else. So, stick around. Welcome back to the Wealthy Idiot Show. My name's AJ. Before we get any further, please make sure to destroy that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And in return, I'll show you a picture of the new fluff ball that we adopted. Can't get over how cute that floof is. So I was watching a YouTube video recently, and it was a video about this quote from Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's right-hand man and also the vice chair of Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's investment firm. He's worth about $1.8 billion, and he's attributed to this quote: "The first $100,000 is a but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." So as I was watching the video, they were describing reasons why the first $100,000 is tough and also why it's important to get to $100,000. Now, I totally agree with Charlie Munger's quote here. The first $100,000 is the hardest, and once you get to that $100,000, and everything seems to come a little bit easier. But I didn't agree with this video's analysis of this $100,000 and the conclusions that they made around why that $100,000 is tough. So I decided to go ahead and make my own video describing why I think the first $100,000 is not only important, but why it's so hard to get to. I came up with 4 reasons why the first $100,000 is a Number 1, not understanding compound interest. Understanding compound interest is one of the most fundamental parts to this entire investing world, becoming wealthy. Albert Einstein may be incorrectly attributed to saying this, but it's rumored that he said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. I'm going to hop over to the Wealthy Idiot's website to show you why compound interest is such an important part of building wealth. We're going to start off by looking at what it looks like to put $1,000 a year into a savings account. Over 30 years, it grows in this absolutely flat line until we hit $30,000. That flat line shows you how much is invested each year, and you could see how this line is linear. A linear line means that if we were to keep increasing the time, we wouldn't see any actual growth. All we would see is that our $1,000 collecting over time. So we can go up to 50 years and we have $50,000, and the line would continue infinitely as long as we kept saving money at $1,000 per year. Now, compound interest will allow that to grow exponentially over time, what's called an exponential function, which causes a curve. So we're going to go back to 30, and we're going to say we're going to get about 10% per year. There we go. So you can see our original blue line drops down really low in order to make room for how much the green line has to grow over this 30-year time frame. And our $1,000 becomes $164,000 over 30 years. All we're doing is investing $1,000 per year. And like we showed, that's just $30,000 totally invested on the right-hand side there. And our total value now is at $164,000. That's the impact of compound interest. In one of our videos, we got a little spicy and we showed what it would look like if we just kept going over an insane amount of time. If we went to 50 years, we'd have $1.1 million. 60 years, $3 million. We went up $2 million just in 10 years because of how much this curve is starting to slide up. And the further we go out in time, the higher that curve is going to go until we get to a point where we're making crazy amounts of money per year, like incomprehensible. 99 years is the max that this will allow me to go. And if we were to invest $1,000 per year for 99 years, we'd have $125 million. Understanding the impact of what compounding interest does in the market is so fundamentally important to building wealth. It may feel like you're putting an inconsequential amount of money in, and that money won't get there over time. I've heard people make the statement, if I had $1 million, even as great as $1 million is in retirement, if I start shaving off money in order to live, I'm not going to be able to live very long on even $1 million. For example, if you take $50,000 a year to live on out of that $1 million, you would only be able to survive for 20 years. And that's assuming inflation doesn't impact that number at all. But with compounding interest, that changes completely because that number will continue to go up even through retirement, and you'll be able to withdraw money out of this account infinitely as long as you do it responsibly. And knowing that changes the game completely. Number 2, not knowing how to start. I think people struggle tremendously with not knowing how to start. Where do you put your money? Where's the right place to do it? Where do you invest it once you get your money in the right place? All these things are very hard and complicated for people to understand, and I think the intimidation factor prevents people from just getting in the market to see how things work. Well, it's not terribly hard to start, but there is a lot of information out there. So I've given a few, and I'll link to them here below, a few videos on where to begin and how to get started. But most importantly, you just have to start getting into the market. Then start figuring out the complications after the fact. So how can you get into the market? Get a brokerage account, real simple, and then start buying things that are fairly stable with good returns. I prefer index funds. This is not financial advice, but I prefer index funds myself. You can get an account at Webull, which is a brokerage firm. They are insured up to $250K, and as long as you're not putting your money into crypto in Webull, that money is also insured over $250K. So you can get to Webull. There's a link below in our comment section. Sign up for Webull. You can ACH money, which is you put some bank account information in there and they will transfer the money for you. Once that money has completed transferring, you look up an index fund that you're really into, that you like. Me personally, I like the S&P 500 index funds. Again, not financial advice, just what I like. And then put money in there and then leave it. That's how you get started. The next thing you got to do to get started is subscribe to the Wealthy Idiot channel, because we'll walk you through all the other steps that you got to do to be successful at this game. Third point, staying in the market, having diamond hands. Now, I've told this story before, and the story still hurts my soul a little bit. When I was younger, I knew I was supposed to be investing. People had taught me that that was a requirement in order to be successful, to have a retirement, and they kind of explained to me the importance of this process. I didn't really digest most of that information, but fast forward to 2007, I knew I should be putting my money into some kind of investments. So I picked something and I chucked my money into it. And then came 2008, where I saw my money dive tragically, and I pulled all my money out. I didn't stay. If you watched my video on dollar cost averaging, link to it above, it showed that if you were to buy at the peak, like I did in 2007, and then you were to wait and not do anything else, it would have taken you 5 years to break even. However, if you were to invest at the peak of 2007 and continue to invest through the drop of 2008, it would have only taken you 6 months to recover your entire net worth. And that's because as the drop is going down and you're continuing to buy, you're buying at the cheapest times, lowering your average purchase price of all of your collective investments. And that lowering is where you have to get to when the market comes back up. You don't have to completely get back up to the peak that you were once at before. So investing over the course of that period would have meant that I could have returned my entire net worth in that 2008 crash in only 6 months. And instead, I pulled everything out. I think people tremendously struggle to get to 100K through this one fact, not understanding how the market works over the long term. We often talk here at this channel that it is stressful, especially in times like right now. Investing is stressful. Everything looks like it goes down. You purchase, it goes down. You purchase again, it goes down some more. And even that bothers me. I watch it and I look at it and it hurts my soul to see that. But I know what's on the other side of this recession or the other side of this downturn, whatever you want to call it. And I know that when the average bull market, so when a market is good, it's called a bull market. When the average bull market after a recession is like 25% on average for 4 years straight, I cannot wait to get to that point. So I'm going to continue to buy knowing that I'm going to stay. And by following along with this strategy, it's going to help you get to that 100K number that just is so stinking elusive. And the fourth and most important point on here is low impact. This was a major struggle for me for a long time, and it's a major struggle for the people I talk to. When you first start investing, like let's say you have $10,000 invested, even with a great annual return of 10%, you're going to receive a growth of about $1,000. For the most of us, $1,000 isn't impactful enough to change our life in any meaningful way. We can maybe buy a little bit of gas with that $1,000. We can Maybe our energy bill went up a little bit, and so that $1,000 might help. But looking at that number is not significant. Even if we went to like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and we have 10% returns, which is a great return, we're still only getting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And it's not a meaningful amount of money that really impacts us in a really significant way. What I noticed, and this is my biggest disagreement with the other videos I saw on this topic, was that for me, the investing process became meaningful when I realized that my accounts were growing at a rate that could afford me an entire car payment. So about $400 to about $500 a month of growth could pay for an entire car payment for the rest of my life. And I thought that was really cool. I would never have to worry about a car again. And it occurred to me, what if I was able to achieve this for things like housing? Could I get investments to the point where my investments would grow at a rate faster than what my rent costs or what my mortgage costs? That's a really cool thought. So now if you did the math and you did 500 times 12, you realize that we would be at about $6,000 in gains per year required to make that make sense. And if you multiply that by 10, you would have to have invested at least $60,000 to receive a gain of $6,000 per year. So $60,000 is the moment where I started to realize that this makes sense. I think for most people, somewhere in between that car payment growth amount and your rent amount would be the amount of money that you would need in order to see growth that would be meaningful enough for you to continue this process. And that's a tremendous struggle to get to that point. Just investing a little bit at a time would take quite a bit of time to get to $60,000 to $100,000. Looking back at our compound interest calculator, it would take the average person of about $500 per month, 10 years inside of index funds in order to get to almost $100,000, a meaningful amount. So you have to consistently be investing for 10 years straight just to get to the point where you feel like this is working in your favor and that this is something you can continue to do. I think that's the point that Charlie Munger is trying to get to. If it takes you 10 years to get to a number or a dollar amount where you can finally see the light, you can understand how this process works, there is so much time in the middle there in order to get out, to decide that this isn't for you and you should be doing something differently. And we go back to those previous 3 points. It would be easy to sell everything or to just not get started at all. And we want to be able to get to that $100,000 number. And he tells us what you have to do is go so hard just to get to that $100,000 in order to get to a meaningful place. And then you can calm down and then you can relax. So in conclusion, I want to encourage you today to get started. Just start investing. Start putting some money in and make it a consistent and regular event, like paying a bill. If you can put $500 into index funds over the course of the next 10 years, you'll hit this $100,000 number and you'll be able to finally see and understand what it is that we're doing here and how this could really impact your life. For me, when I finally got to that number, it wasn't, I didn't take my foot off the brake, not even a little bit. I hit that number and I realized the power of what it was that was happening, and I went even harder at it. I refused to grow my lifestyle. I refused to buy new cars, and I went hard at investing for a long period of time, and I continue to do that today because I understand how impactful this is and what this can do for my future and my family's future. So I hope you found a little bit of encouragement today. If you're not there yet, we will be here with you, trying to encourage you along the way, showing you the right paths in order to make sure that you're successful, and we're willing to answer any questions that you guys have. Toss them down in the comments below and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. And before you go, make sure you check out wealthyidiots.com. We're constantly posting new videos and articles and tools on the website to make sure that you're successful, and you could check out the tool like we looked at today and the compound interest calculator and really see how investing a little bit can have huge impacts later on in your life. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.